Hello and welcome to Ukramedia.com. My name is Sergey Praknevsky, and today I'll be showing you how to create these skid marks inside Cinema 4D. Okay, so here we are in Cinema 4D, and I already have an object imported into my scene, and this truck I did not model. I got it from a website called Turbo Squid. It's a free model. Feel free to go over there and download it yourself. You can just search for, within that website, you can search for a truck, and I'm sure you'll find this one. But anyway, it's a very cool one because it's not too heavy. One second, Control Alt V. Okay, it's not too heavy on vertices, and it's very well UV mapped. All that dirt and stuff. It's really cool, and plus it fits perfectly. You know, the scene that we're trying to accomplish here. A truck that does all these burnouts and donuts and stuff like that. This truck just fits it well. I mean, so. Yeah, definitely the right truck for what I'm trying to do here. But anyway, let's start now, and as you can tell, I have things kind of grouped for body and back tires, left and right. So I want to kind of rig the tires mainly of this truck. And so what I'll do first, I'll select this truck and then go to user data and manage user data and then add data. And inside here, I'm just going to do steering first. And then for interface, let's do float slider. Unit, let's do degree, and limit, let's do minimum -30, maximum not negative, just 30. Okay, and this slider, basically, you can tell, just pretty simple. So let's do default value be 0, and then let's do another one. This one will label tire turn, and the interface will leave it at float. Unit will be degree, and let's not have any limits. And default value is 0. So that's good. Let's link these two values up. Steering will basically be affecting front two tires, these two right here. So what we'll do, we'll go back to the truck main null, and we'll say, all right, steering, right click, animation, you'll be our driver. So you will be driving something, and right now we're going to assign what you're going to drive. So let's select right and left tire, front tires, and say, all right, you will be driving left and right tires. So while those two are selected, I'm going to go to coordinates and say, all right, you're going to be driving the Y axis of the two tires. So right click and say set driven absolute. So by the way, in case you don't know what absolute and relative means, it's basically we'll do the same thing. If you hit a relative, it will work the same way, but absolute will take the exact absolute value from your driver, and relative will kind of adjust. So if you have, let's say, your, like, if the value is like 5 or something of your driver, then it'll start from 5 and it'll adjust to that. It'll be relative to that. Hope I didn't confuse you. Anyway, yeah, just use absolute for this one. It'll do fine. But anyway, next what we'll do, actually, before we go any further, let me select all this and make sure everything is frozen. Make sure everything's 0, and then I like, you know, instead of HPB, I just like XYZ better. So that's what I'll do. So next, what we'll do, we'll go back to the truck and say user data. The tire turn. You will be driving. You'll be our new driver. So okay, we're setting you as a driver, and then you'll be driving back tire, left tire, and right tire. So I got all of them selected, and then I'll go into coordinates and say X value or X axis. You will be driven by absolute. And so if you go to the truck, and you can tell that steering is working and turning is working as well. So that's good. Next, what we'll do is set up our scene, or I guess our camera. So let's bring a new camera into our scene, and then also a new null object. And what I'll do, I'll drop that under the null object, and then I'll label this null cameraman. Okay, and then I'll select the camera and I'll zero everything down. Just zero everything down, and basically camera will become 1 with the null. And so what I'll do, let's go into our camera, and then I'll pull on Z axis or Z value and set up our basic camera shot. In fact, let me go to 2000. Okay, that's good. And then let's do XYZ again, and then on the X value of the cameraman, we'll go up to like maybe 14, and then we'll bring this up to about here. Okay, that's good. That should work. And then what we'll do for our truck, we'll turn it on the Y axis about maybe negative 40 degrees. So basically we see the side and the front, so it's a nice little angle. Okay, next let's start animating. So we'll select the truck, and we'll be basically animating the Z value of the truck and the Y value. So what I'll do, I'll select these two by control click on two of them, and then right click, and I'll say animation, add keyframe selection. So basically it adds, see it turned yellow, it added a selection for those keyframes, for those values or whatever. So now what all I can do now is click this red auto key or record position, scale, rotation key, or whatever button, and it automatically will set keyframes for those values. So that's nice. So if I'll go up front to the zero keyframe, or zero whatever frame on the timeline, let's turn our truck negative 180, so it's like straight on, and then bring it back to about here, and then let's add a keyframe. So now this is what we get basically. But here's the problem: it's kind of going through our roof, and we don't like that. So let's go to our cameraman and then bring that value up to 15 maybe. So that should work. So this is our basic animation, nothing special. So let's spice it up a little bit, and in fact, let's go into a animation layout, and then select rotation, and if you hold control and space, you will automatically go into the rotation value curves and stuff. So like we'll bring the first one, it's at the 0 mark, let's bring it down to, or up to 15. So like it'll start rotating at the 15 mark, something like that. And let's bring our position as well, hit H to reveal all, and let's make this linear here so it kind of goes fast and then starts turning. So this isn't too bad. Yeah, this isn't too bad. Let's adjust our camera slightly. Let's bring it down just a little bit. So this is what we get. Not too bad. So now what we'll do is let's go back to our startup layout, and then here I'll basically start, the tires are not flat like this, so let's turn our tires a little bit. So let's do this. Okay, so 60 is our last frame, so let's go into our camera or truck, and then go to user data and tire turn, or I'm sorry, steering. Let's set a keyframe, and then about maybe 50, we'll set it to negative actually 30 degrees, and then 15, actually yeah, the whole time it can be turned like that, and then it'll straighten out, so something like this. And actually it can be probably brought down to 40 maybe. So it's pretty rigid, pretty stiff a look. So let's spice it up a little bit. So, but overall not too bad. In fact, let me do Alt V, take this wireframe thing down. So this is what we get. Not too bad. So let's do one more thing. So our body, let's animate our body a little bit so it has a little like offset kind of animation. So if we go into our body, let's convert it into a Mograph. And to do that, we'll hit Alt and go to Mograph Cloner, and basically we make this body a cloner and I'm not using Cloner for cloning purposes. I'm just using it to activate Mograph. So let's set count down to 1, and let's label this body. And inside here, we'll basically be animating transformation or transform values here instead of coordinates. So basically, we'll set a keyframe for that and side to side. So let's set a keyframe for side to side first. So Alt click or Control click on that, and then go to about 50 maybe. Well, actually, let's go to 15. That's when we started turning. So let's set that to 0, and then go to about 50, and then turn that about, I don't know, 15. That's probably too much. Let's do 14 or something. 14. So you got, let's bring this down to 30 maybe. 20. Okay, something like this. And the same thing for up and down, or your front and back. So let's set the 0 there as well, and the 0 there as well. And this will be back maybe like 3 degrees. Okay. It looks still rigid, much better, but rigid. But this is where the magic happens. So now, since it is a Mograph, we can select our body, Mograph Cloner, and then go to Mograph and go to Effector and hit Delay. And here we can bring the strength up to about, I don't know, 80, and then Mode will bring that to Spring. And by the way, make sure that your body Mograph Cloner thing, the effectors, make sure you see the delay inside that. If you don't, just make sure you drag that in there. But anyway, so now that's selected, you can click play it and see how it gives you a nice little natural movement. So it's pretty quick, pretty awesome, and I think it gets the job done. So yeah, we got that set up, and then next what we'll do, okay, what else can we do here? Let's do this. Let's make sure we, in case you're using a render farm, let's freeze or cache our or bake our animation for Mograph. So to do that, just go to Mograph tag and Mograph cache and just bake it, and it takes no time. So we got that baked, so that's good. And then what else we can do here before we go to our skid mark part? Okay, I think that's pretty solid. Okay, I think this is not too bad. So next, let's add or I guess do the main part of this tutorial, and it's skid marks. Okay, so just to warn you, you know, my way is probably not the best way to go about it. I'm sure there are many other ways to achieve this kind of effect using like something like proximal shader probably will work, but I will use Mograph for this. So I'm sorry if you're not impressed. So let's collapse these down, and I will drop a null object under each tire. So let's tear this off, and I'm going to select each tire and then shift click on each and drop a null under each one. Okay, do that for all 4. Alright, and then once I have all 4, I'm going to rename them to tracer, and then inside coordinates here, I'm going to level everything down to 0. Okay, and I'll move all of them to truck, basically out of tires, so that it's not affected by any of tire animations or anything like that. Basically move it up to the main root null. Okay, and then I'll also protect my camera so that I don't move it accidentally. Okay, let's go to the side view, and inside my side view, select all of your tracers or nulls that are right there, and move them down to the base of the tire. So let's probably move it about here. That's probably good. And then let's move the truck up just slightly. Okay, and then now if you select all 4 tracers and go to Mograph, and while it's all selected, hit this tracer, and if you go inside the tracer object and you look at under this trace link, you can tell that all 4 of them are in there. And so what a tracer does, it generates curves, like it creates a curve or a spline, and like on the go, so like this. So now you can work with that because basically it is a spline now. You can treat it as a spline, and so that's exactly what we'll do. So we'll bring in a sweep NURB, and then also underneath that we'll bring in a rectangle, and we'll put our tracer as well. So now we'll adjust the height of our tracer, so something like this. And by the way, let's create a texture for the skid marks, probably black with nothing else, and let's drop it underneath that. Let's label this skid marks. Okay, and you can adjust this however you want, but this is good enough. I mean, you can, if you go back into our camera, you can see that it's giving you what you want, and you can adjust the thickness of it and all that. You know, you can bring the value here, and so this can definitely work for you. So yeah, that's basically how it's done. So let's take it a little bit further. Let's see if we can add a little personality to our skid marks, because right now it just looks like a one plane. So I'm going to go to a new project real quick, and just to have more space, and I'll bring in a rectangle, and I'll duplicate it by Control, Drag, and Shift to about 440, same way, 440, and then together. Sounds probably good, and I'll select all of them and hit C on the keyboard or right here to make it editable, and then do Control, you know, right click and go to Connect Object and Delete. So basically it makes it into one object. And now what you can do is make sure that it's centered. You see, it's not centered. It should be centered here. So just go to Mesh, Axis Center, and then Center Axis 2, and then it'll center it. So let's copy that and then go to our main scene here and then paste it there. And I'm going to basically replace the rectangle there, and I'll have to scale it down. So that's good, and then something like this will work. So in fact, this probably doesn't have much detail. If you render, you can barely see. But actually, it probably has to do with. Let's see. It probably has to do with the height. So let's go to select that and go to scale here. Oops. 0.1. So yeah, I'm gonna bring the scale down to 0.1, and let's go back to our camera view here. So yeah, as you can see, it creates nice little lines, little personality. That's good. And now what we can do is create a floor. So let's start by bringing a disk. Let's name this floor, and let's extend that to about here. And I'm just going to drop a white texture. Let's label this floor, and everything white, no specular. And I'll also do a background, and I'll do the same texture on the background. And you know, if you were to render this right now, you can tell that the white here is not the same as there because it's reacting with the environment. So what I'll do, I'll create a compositing tag, and I'll tell it to compositing background. Select that, and make sure, yeah, and that's all you'll need really. And now we'll composite to the background. So another thing we can do, we can add a by the way, let's go to physical render, and let's do automatic here. Okay, animation. But anyway, what I'll do here is bring our ambient occlusion, so you can create little shadows under the tires. So when you hit render, it creates little shadows. But we'll also have to light it real quick, because I mean, you can leave it as that if you want, and control a little reflection as well. So I'm going to bring in a physical sky for this one, and in fact in the display I'm going to go to shading so that I can see what I'm doing here with my light. So I'm going to light the side and a little bit of the front, and I'll leave it as that. I'm not going to adjust any more settings there. So next, what I'll do, one second, let me render this and see what happens. So obviously the problem here now is that because we just brought in physical sky, we lost the white background. So what we need to do is just tell the physical sky to bring a compositing tag and tell it to not be seen by the camera. And in fact, I'm going to turn my my skid marks off, because I'll render that separately. So I want to make sure that let me bring interactive renderer. By the way, you can also adjust the quality here by dragging up and down. And I'm going to turn ambient occlusion off for just 1 second. So yeah, it basically generates a view for you, and you can adjust obviously the quality of your view. But what I want to do is bring in actually a little reflection for the vehicle. And what I'll do is just bring in a just a render like a sky, and then I'll go to create and load prime material HDRI, and I'll just do the first one, whatever that is. I'll drop that underneath. Basically it's going to be some kind of a HDRI environment. Drop that in there, and let me double click. Let me turn this off. Okay, double click on this, and I don't want it to be on luminance channel, so I'm going to clear that and paste into here just a regular color. And inside the color, I'm going to give it a compositing tag for the whole sky dome thing, and I'll tell it to only be seen by rays, because I just want it for the reflection purpose. And inside here, like if we were to render just this little area, you can tell that you can control the reflection of this whole vehicle. So you can either double click here and then go to reflection and maybe convert this into a layer or something, and then go into it and then go to effects and bring in like a brightness, contrast, gamma, and bring the gamma down so it's not as reflective. Maybe like 0.7 is fine. Okay, so okay, we got this. What else do we need? We got a camera set up. Let's set up few. Let's set up for the whole truck. I'm going to set up a. Let me see. Okay, everything's here. Let's do multipass. So I'm going to do a object buffer, just one, and then I'll do it for this, the whole vehicle. So I'm doing compositing, and let's go to object buff. So the one is selected, and then now we're basically ready to render. So let's see, we're probably going to go down to 60 frames, maybe render about, I don't know, 100 frames. Let's do that, 100 frames. So output 0 to 100. Everything looks good. Save, multipass, and be sure to tell it where you want to be saved. And I'll also bring in a null, and I'll just let it sit there, and it'll be an external compositing. So I'll just bring it for my After Effects scene. So I'm going to save an After Effects project, and I'll go Skidmarks, render. Let's drop it into here. Let's do AE. Okay, it's saving. Oh, actually, you have to include 3D data. Be sure that's selected. So save that again. Okay, and yeah, and I'm going to do my first render without the skid marks. I'll render that by itself. So yeah, I'm just gonna render this truck going through, and we'll see where it's at. So yeah, we'll come back in the next one for After Effects, but as of right now, let's stop it right here. Thanks.